Well, good evening. Thank you all for coming out tonight to this second town hall meeting in a series of 4. Welcome here to the Troup County Baptist Association building, and thanks to Circles of Troup County for co-hosting tonight's town hall meeting with me. I also would like to welcome all of you who are joining us on Facebook Live. We will later on in the evening have an opportunity to take some questions from Facebook as well as questions from here in the audience. This is new technology we're trying out. It's only the second time we've done it, but the first time worked really well, so we're excited about it. Excited about this opportunity to be able to broadcast the town hall meeting throughout the community and really around the country, because I think we've had people posting questions last time who were traveling. So I'm Jim Thornton, mayor of the city of LaGrange. What I have done, this is the third year in a row that about this same time of the year, I have conducted a series of town hall meetings around the city. This gives me and the members of the city council and staff an opportunity to get out into the community, to get out into the neighborhoods, to hear from residents about issues that are of concern to them, to give residents an opportunity to ask questions. And really what I'm most hopeful for and most anticipate is giving residents an opportunity to make suggestions. Because it is my firm belief, and I say this a lot, but it's my firm belief that most good ideas don't start at City Hall. Most good ideas start out in the community. And so it's important for me and for the members of the council to be able to hear your ideas and hear your suggestions about ways that we can improve things in the city of LaGrange. So before we get started with the actual town hall meeting itself, there are some special introductions I would like to make. I'm delighted to have 2 members of the LaGrange City Council with us tonight. Haven't seen any others, but I've seen 2. We have Councilman Mark Mitchell and we have Councilman Nick Woodson. Would you please stand and let's recognize them. Thank you all for coming out. As mayor, I have the pleasure of serving with a great city council. The governing authority for the city of LaGrange is vested in the mayor and city council. So that's 7 of us. And the 7 of us all meet twice a month to decide issues that are important to the residents of LaGrange. And the council members that we have there's 6 of them, 2 here tonight. They do a great job. I think it's interesting tonight we have our newest member of the council in Mark Mitchell, and we have our senior member of the council in Nick Woodson. But we appreciate both of you coming out. Even though the governing authority is the mayor and council, most of the work that is done at the city of LaGrange is handled by the staff. And we have approximately 430 people that work at the city. They cover all the range of services that the city delivers, from police and fire and roads to electricity and water and sewer. And we have a great city staff. It's led by our city manager, who's been with the city now for over 20 years in different capacities, but has been city manager now for about 8 months, maybe 8-9 months. But we're delighted to have Meg Kelsey, our city manager, here tonight. Will you recognize her? As I often tell people, the mayor and council hires one person. The 7 of us, the mayor and council, we hire one person. We hire Miss Kelsey as the city manager, and then all those other 430 employees work for her. And she has some of her staff here tonight. I know she has our assistant city manager, has our police chief, Sergeant McCoy, our city planner. Maybe some others I'm looking around the room. Oh, Alton West, our director of community development. So we have several staff members here that work with Meg and help deliver those services. A couple of minutes late, but glad he's here. We have Dr. Tom Gore, who is also a member of our city council, who just came in, and we have our Troup County Commission Chairman, Patrick Cruz. So appreciate you being here. If y'all recognize both of them. Tonight we are, and as I mentioned, I go out into the community. Let me also say this, and I think this is very important for everyone to hear, both here and on Facebook. The LaGrange City Council meetings are all public meetings. And even though we don't always have a lot of attendance, we have, of course, Ms. Cofield is there on a pretty regular basis, but we don't often have regular attendance. They are public meetings. And one thing that I do at every city council meeting, usually at the end of the agenda, is I look out in the audience and I say, is there anybody else in council chambers who has anything that needs to come before the city council? And let me explain, that's essentially an open microphone policy, okay? You don't have to you don't have to ask to be on the agenda. You don't have to tell us you're coming. If anybody has anything that they need to share with the council, that's an opportunity to do it. So it's not just these town hall meetings, but also our regular council meetings that are the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:30, 208 Ridley Avenue, right downtown. You're all welcome and invited to be there. But I try to get out into the neighborhoods, and this is the third year that we have been here at this particular location to kind of cover, if you will, Southwest LaGrange. And I'm delighted that for the third year in the row, we've been hosted by Circles of Troup County. And so I would like to give Sherry Brown, who is the director of Circles of Troup County, just a moment to speak to you, greet you, and to share with you a little bit about their program. So Sherry?
Thanks, we're glad to be part of this. We meet here on Thursday nights downstairs every week. We need volunteers and we need participants. We're getting ready to start another class. Holly's our coach for this group. And we work with families who want to start getting ahead. And so you can have a job, not have a job, maybe you want to go to school, maybe you just want to figure out how to get control of your money, and we'll help you do that. And if you're interested, see me. And also we have some flyers. I'd love for you to take one. We'll tell you all about it. And you can like us on Facebook at Circles of Troup County too. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Which is a program that is funded in part by the City of LaGrange, but also private foundations and other organizations in town. And it's an effort to fight poverty. To fight poverty in Troup County, and appreciate Sherry, you and all the staff, Holly, all that you do for our community. In the past, when we've done these town hall meetings, I have tended to start out with a 30 or 40-minute monologue about all the things going on in LaGrange, okay? And to share with you some of the exciting projects and some of the challenges and some of the ways I see and the council sees issues around our community. And so I would start out with that monologue, and it would take a lot of time. Well, it occurred to me and the city manager this year that if I went through the monologue about all the things going on in LaGrange, from the economic development projects to the transportation projects to the public safety initiatives, if I went through the entire series of discussions, it wouldn't just be 30 or 40 minutes. It might take an hour and a half or more just to get through my monologue, which I wouldn't subject anybody to that. That's not something you need to endure. So what we did instead is we produced a mayor's update. And I hope you had a chance when you came in to get a copy of the mayor's update. This is also available on the city's Facebook page, that if you want to go and grab an electronic copy, you can. But it basically is I think 8-page summary of some of the things that are happening in the community, some of which you may be interested in asking a question about tonight or making a comment about, or they may be things that are just informative for you. And so I hope you will take one of those and review it, and certainly there's contact information on there about how you can reach out to the city if you have a particular question that doesn't get asked and answered tonight. And so those were handed out on the way in, and on the way out, I hope you will take a flyer from Sherry and Circles. So when we get ready to end the meeting, maybe someone from Circles can go and man the door and hand out a flyer about volunteering for that program. So with that in mind, I'm not going to go through all of the details of some of those projects, some you may ask about, but let me just kind of summarize it by saying that I really think this is an exciting time to be living in LaGrange. It's an exciting time to be living in LaGrange because For the first time in quite a while, we are seeing some real and substantial growth in our community. We're seeing some significant investment in our community. And we're seeing, at least I'm seeing, a change of attitude among residents and newcomers to the community, saying that we're no longer just going to do things the way we've always done them, but we're going to try new ideas. We're going to embrace new initiatives. We're going to try to improve the lives of everyone in the community. And I think that cultural shift is important, because once you get that cultural shift of attitude and you couple that with resources that are pouring into our community, then you have a real opportunity to solve some problems, and you have a real opportunity to address some systemic issues that we as a community have struggled with. Let me just give you a couple of numbers that I think are interesting. In 1950, does anybody want to hazard a guess what the population of the city of LaGrange was in 1950? It was 25,000. In 1950, the population of LaGrange was 25,000. And we were the 8th largest city in Georgia with a population of 25,000. Fast forward to the year 2000, 50 years later. Do you know what the population of LaGrange was in 2000? 25,000. So and by then we were the 27th largest city in Georgia. So we had gone for a period of 50 years when Georgia had experienced tremendous growth and LaGrange had been flat. Now, in last year's census estimate, they pegged the population of the city at 31,000. So we are now seeing some growth. I believe that growth is going to continue, and hopefully it will continue along a similar trajectory, which is maybe 3 to 5% annual growth, nothing explosive, but it's going to be the kind of growth that will provide us with the resources we need to address transportation issues, to address educational issues, to address poverty issues, to address other issues in the community, because we have this growth rate and we have the resources that comes along with it. One last statistic. In 2016, the city of LaGrange announced a number of economic development projects. Most of them are chronicled in the brochure, and I'm not going to go through every one in detail. But those projects will account for approximately $1 billion of new corporate investment in LaGrange, and will create approximately 2,500 new jobs over the next several years. So you see, we're no longer a little secret here in West Georgia. People from around the country and around the world are wanting to invest here in LaGrange. They're wanting to invest their resources in building projects, in expansions, in creating jobs in our community. And I think that also is going to provide us resources so that we can, as a community, continue to grow and to prosper and to address issues as they come along. So I think it's a very exciting time to be living in LaGrange. I think there are a lot of great things that are underway already, and I believe we're creating a critical mass of energy that will result in even better things in the years to come. So that's my opening monologue, and I'm going to stop, and I'm going to see what's on your mind. What suggestions do you have for the mayor and council and staff? What questions do you have? What new ideas are you thinking about? What would you like me or the council members to expand upon more tonight? Questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
When is the Vernon Woods connector? Do we have a timeline on that? Like when that's going to happen?
Yes, the Vernon Woods connector is out to bid right now. That project is a joint project of the city and the county, and it has gone out to bid, I think, with a return date in maybe later this month. Sometime in February is the return date for those bids. We will select the low bidder and then give them the go-ahead to proceed. I would anticipate construction beginning in March timeframe, and hopefully it'll be done this year, by the end of the year. I mean, weather, and there's lots of factors that come into play, but it is very much a project that is moving forward and underway.
Where is it connected?
The Vernon Woods connector is essentially where you turn off of Vernon Road at Vernon Woods, okay, at Medical Drive, okay. It currently dead ends right there, and then you make a hard left, and you go up to Vernon Woods and Buckeye Creek and all of that area. Well, you'll just keep going straight into the woods right there. You'll keep going straight, and the road will then come out between Country Club Drive and Hollis Hand School. So you can see where it's been flagged off already along Country Club Road. It's about 350 feet, if I'm getting my compass east, it's about 350 feet east of Country Club Drive. And excuse me, the plan is for it to be a 2-lane road with a sort of a winding feel to it, not a fast thoroughfare, but nevertheless a connector, and it will have a roundabout connection at Country Club Road that will slow traffic a little bit there along Country Club to enable the people on the road to come in and out. We're hopeful that road will provide some relief to Vernon Road. We're hopeful that it will provide an alternate traffic pattern to try to take some of the stress off Vernon, because we know that Vernon Road itself is our most congested corridor, and there's not a great solution there about what to do with Vernon, but we think this will help some alleviate that. Other questions or comments? Ms. Kay? I should recognize former City Council member Kay Duran. Appreciate you being here as well.
Former City Council member, I'm here as a resident. Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask you about something that was in the short-term plan, the comprehensive plan, where it said that you would be completing a LaGrange housing assessment. I know one of the things that is of real concern to our area, we're in the Dash neighborhood, there's also the Calumet neighborhood that's getting organized and all. One of the real concerns is affordable housing, and we would assume that would become part of that assessment, knowing what our needs are in all the varieties of housing that needs, what we need and what we have would be extremely helpful for us as we're planning and working on what we need to do. I feel like as our growth comes, we're going to have the developers driving a lot of what they need, but sometimes the affordable housing can get left behind, and thought that would be a good way for us to move forward.
That's a great question and comment about housing generally and affordable housing in particular. You're absolutely right the way you phrase it, which is by saying that we need this mixture. We need all of these needs to be taken into account. And housing is a challenge. It has been a challenge for us for a number of years. You hear all the time that people can't find housing in LaGrange, so that there are tremendous numbers of people who drive into town for work and then drive out to live into Noonan or Auburn or Columbus even. And so we know housing is an issue on multiple fronts. It's an issue on workforce housing, affordable housing, multifamily housing. I had a developer the other day tell me that the occupancy rate for our apartments in LaGrange was around 98%, which is essentially full. I mean, if you have it's kind of like unemployment. If you have 2% unemployment, everybody has a job. 98% is essentially full. So we know that multifamily is an issue. We know that affordable housing is always an issue. We know that workforce housing is an issue. We hear this all the time from Kia and the suppliers to Kia and the other industries in town. It's one of those issues it's a complex problem, and therefore there's not a simple solution. But I think we have made a lot of progress in chipping away at it with DASH, with LaGrange Housing Authority, with some other individualized initiatives here and there. What we don't have, and what I fully would support, is a systematic review of housing. And I have actually, the city manager and I have had conversation with Department of Community Affairs, which has a Georgia Institute for Community Housing. It's a GIC program, which basically brings together all of the stakeholders who touch housing in some capacity around the table. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to do that sooner rather than later, because and I run into this in other areas. I run into, not just in housing, I run into it in all kinds of places. We in government, at the local, state, and federal level, we in government have a tendency to create silos. And we have a tendency to create great programs and initiatives that don't talk to anybody else. They just do their thing, and they don't share that with anyone else at the table. And so one of the things that I did early on as mayor in economic development was try to break down some of the silos that existed in economic development. So what I did shortly after becoming mayor is I invited the head of our Industrial Development Authority, Downtown Development Authority, Chamber of Commerce, city staff, city manager, invited all of these participants to meet with me once a month to share ideas about what's going on in economic development, to have an opportunity to make sure those lines of communication were open, that Chamber wasn't working on one initiative that was different from the Downtown Authority, that was different from the Industrial Authority, etc. We have great staff and they do great things, but they didn't always talk to each other about what they were doing. And the one role I had as mayor is I could kind of sort of force them to meet. You know what I mean? I could gently encourage them to meet and get them together once a month. And I think we've had great success over the last 2 years, in large part because of those sharing of ideas. And so what I'm taking from your comment, Kay, is that we need to do something very similar in the housing front. As mayor, maybe I have the authority, maybe through GIC, through the DCA initiative, we need to do it. We need to make sure that DASH is talking to the Housing Authority, and we need to make sure that they're both talking to the Board of Realtors, and we need to make sure that the Home Builders Association is at the table. And we need to make sure that all of these entities are working together, along with the Planning Commission and the County Planning Commission, to address these needs. But it is a need. I don't have a simple solution as to how we overnight solve the need for housing in our community, but there are a lot of good folks out there working and a lot of good programs to draw from, and we probably need to, I'm kind of looking over towards the staff, we probably need to find ways to gently nudge all of those players to come to the table and work more cooperatively. So thank you for that suggestion. Sure.
Lots of good things going on, thank you. 2,500 new jobs coming, that's fabulous. And, being concerned with poverty, let's be honest, there's only one way out of poverty, and that's ultimately getting a job. So this is great. However, we have a big barrier to work, and that's transportation. We face this all the time in circles. The struggle to get affordable, reliable transportation to work, to medical appointments, to the store, to our kids' schools. I know you had a transportation committee. I don't know where that is right now. And I believe that the young game changers are going to address transportation maybe, I don't know, but I think that's a little
Yeah.
different. But where are we, and are you actively looking for solutions that are affordable for all of us in our community?
The question is about public transportation and about transportation being a barrier to job opportunities, medical opportunities, and I know this to be a fact. It's not it's undeniable that it is a barrier. We see it with, as you say, with people who can't get to work for the jobs. We see it with people who can't follow up on medical care because oftentimes they rely upon ambulances and other things when they have a crisis that if they could just get on a more regular basis to the doctor, they could avoid. So yeah, we definitely see that. We know it's a need. There are limited programs available through the county, through Troup Transit, for certain defined populations. And that is a program that is very limited and very restricted. And we've looked at ways to try to build off that existing infrastructure. Rather than reinventing the wheel, we've looked at ways to try and build off of the existing Troup Transit model and expand it. That has proven difficult, quite honestly. It's proven very very costly, and there's not an obvious source of funding. The problem with public transportation is that, and this is kind of like the airlines used to be before they deregulated. The problem is with public transportation, you have some routes that are very profitable, and you have a lot of routes that just hemorrhage money. And so we've tried to figure out, this is a logistics nightmare to try to figure out how can you get the right people to the right places at the right times, and if you try to run a system 24/7 or even during the day, it just becomes prohibitively expensive. One issue remains that we are a micropolitan statistical area, meaning that we're less than 50,000 population, so we can't tap into a lot of federally available funding for operations. So we have some real serious challenges. This is what we've done. We tried to put together a committee to look at public transportation, to bring the county to the table. It became fairly apparent that we really didn't have the staff resources to study this question and to go visit Rome and go visit Columbus and go visit Gainesville and other communities, to do that kind of legwork that's needed to try to understand the issues. So what Paige Estes at the Chamber did was she floated this idea by the Leadership Troup class. And the current year class of Leadership Troup has taken this on as a project. And I met with them. Todd Tentler, the county managers, met with them. They've met with the Housing Authority, because the Housing Authority runs their own bus system for their residents. And so they are actively investigating what these options are. I think we should have a report back from them around May or June timeframe. And we can see, I think they're going to I hope they're not, I don't know if anybody here is in that group or watching us on Facebook. I don't want to tell them what they're going to say, but I think they're probably going to come back with some kind of hybrid kind of proposal, which is maybe that we take the existing Troup Transit program, maybe we take the existing Housing Authority program, and maybe we try to ask the City Council, the County Commission, for some type of operational subsidy to provide specific routes that make economic sense, that don't hemorrhage money, but actually are viable. And then layer that on top of some type of website, some type of platform where people can share rides and can carpool and so forth, and try to also do a little bit of a PR effort around this effort. I think they're going to propose some kind of hybrid. But until we get that proposal, I don't know exactly I don't really know exactly what it's going to look like. But 100% agree it's an issue. 100% agree it's a concern, and it's something that we need to find some way to address. On the jobs question itself, we're also very mindful that we want those jobs to go, as many as can, to local residents. I mean, we obviously, that's why we recruit jobs to our community for economic development and for the resources and all that, but in part to give jobs to our residents. And so I'm very glad that the Chamber of Commerce and the Troup County Center for Strategic Planning have hired a firm called Avalanche Consulting, which has done this work in other communities similar to us, been very successful in doing so, to try to figure out how we can better align those jobs with our local residents, and particularly with our local resources like West Georgia Tech and high schools and Think Academy, to try to create some pipelines of jobs. But I absolutely agree with you. The way out of poverty is a good, steady job. And just to be clear, the issue is not having a car or having a means of transportation to get to the job interview or to the job one time. It's the reliable aspect of it. Yeah. Because a lot of people have access to some form of limited transportation, but they don't have a reliable source of transportation. And that's what's critical, and that's what we really need to be focused on. And that's what Leadership Troup is working towards. But thank you for raising the issue. Do we have a Facebook question we can go to?
Yeah, Allison Wallace from Facebook asked a question last time that we just couldn't get to, so bring it up now. With the growth and plan for more development in our city, will there be an increase in law enforcement to help prevent gang growth?
It's a very good question, and public safety is obviously top of our list, Allison, in terms of our concerns. Yes, there will be. Chief Dekmar knows this well. When Chief came to LaGrange 25 years ago or so, our population was, as I said, 25,000. Now it's 31,000. So we've seen a growth of about 20% in our population over the last 20 years. During that period of time, we have not seen an increase in crime. In fact, just the opposite. If you go back to 1995, 1996, crime numbers were higher in LaGrange than they are today. So I only say that to say there's not a direct correlation between population growth and crime. Over the last 10 years, people ask me sometimes, did Kia bring new crime with it? And I know. I mean, if you go back to 2006 when Kia announced, and you look at 2016, our crime numbers are basically flat. No increase, no decrease. You know, I'd love to see a decrease. But it's been basically flat. So I don't think population brings new crime. However, I think part of our obligation as mayor and council is to always be thinking preventatively. How can we prevent crime? How can we get ahead of it? How can we be proactive? And so over the last 2 years, we have added 9 new police officers to the city of LaGrange. In 2015, for the first time, I believe in about 10 years, the city council authorized 4 new police officer positions. 2 gang officers, 1 school resource officer at Gardner Newman Middle School, and a community outreach officer. And so we authorized 4 new positions in 2015. And then in 2016, we came along and we authorized another 5 patrol officers. So when I started as mayor of LaGrange, we had 82 sworn officers working for the city. Now we have 91 authorized sworn officer positions. And so we've seen an increase of about 10% in just the last 2 years in the number of sworn officers. We don't anticipate the need to continue that. We think we have staffed up to the level that the police department can continue being a very highly rated police department that's very responsive to crime. We think we've stepped up to that level, but we'll always continue to monitor that. And so if there is new growth coming, if there is new population growth, new jobs, etc., we'll continue to watch those numbers And if it becomes necessary, I can't speak for the council, but I have 3 of the members here tonight. I mean, I think the mayor and council are all very supportive of law enforcement and would definitely step up and authorize additional resources as requested by Chief Dekmar for that purpose. Other questions, comments from the audience? We have a lot of representatives here tonight from our Thread trail program. Do any of y'all have anything you'd like to comment on or share? I'm very excited about the Thread. That's one of the new initiatives that has been led by citizens. As I said, most good ideas don't start at City Hall. Most good ideas start from the community. And a group of citizens came together and said, other communities around the country are investing in multi-use trails, and it's not only an amenity, but it also has health benefits to youth and to seniors and everybody in between. And we need to make a similar investment here in our community. And they put together a steering committee and have really got a lot of initiative behind their work, and I appreciate all that y'all have done and continue to do. That's another exciting project that we have underway. Dr. Gore.
Mayor, I just wanted to follow up on a couple of comments that our people brought up. Mr. Rand was asking about the housing, and I wanted
Would you like to come down front to the microphone?
No, I'm okay.
Well, that way you can be on Facebook.
What I just want to say that, Kay, do you have any ideas? You know, you brought it up, and Sherry, do you have any ideas on those 2 topics of affordable housing and transportation that we could just gain from your input tonight while we're all together?
Let's start with Kay.
I like the idea of bringing all the entities together. I think that's a great idea. But at the same time, I think we really have got to have somebody professional that can actually do the assessment for us. Because you obviously have located someone who could do that for us. So it's something that we need to do together. And then from that point, once we understand what our needs are, then from a planning standpoint, that will help us in planning on our doing whatever we need to do to change some future land use or some zoning or something like that, and working in conjunction with DASH, with the affordable housing part of things, which would be DASH as well as Calumet and the Housing Authority, because this is not just about affordable housing, it is being ahead of the curve for planning. So when the developer comes in, we'll know whether or not we need to be zoning the way they want it zoned versus what the community needs. So having that funding for the professional help would be very helpful.
And I think that is certainly the direction that I'm hoping we will go with the DCA program, the GIC, Georgia Institute of Community Housing program. And so hopefully we can move that forward. And I definitely hope that the Planning Commission, which I know you serve on, will be a part of that conversation as well. Even because, like you say, Planning Commission's not building housing per se, but they're helping to determine where by land use housing development should occur, as well as the county. I think Chairman Cruz had to slip out, but we definitely need to make sure that the county is plugged into this, because over the last few years, a lot of our new housing developments have actually occurred in the unincorporated area of Troup County, not in the city itself. And so that's I think a factor of land cost as much as anything, which we also need to be addressing. And let me see if Sherry can respond to Dr. Gore on transportation.
Lots of ideas. Actually, we address an issue in circles. We always take a major issue in our community and try to address it and find some solutions. And we've looked at some other communities our size, recognizing that we don't have federal funding, and we get that. I think that an incentive program for car riders and multiple people in a car would be great. I don't know exactly how that would look. That might come from employers. I think creating a community with the mindset of, I get in there's 2 people living in my house and we have 3 stupid cars. I mean, it's crazy. And so, I mean, I think the mindset of don't get in the car by yourself, but think through those things and be available and figure that out. I think the rising of Uber and some of these other things, if they can be encouraged, that gives you employment opportunities to take care of your car, plus it also gives reliable, and I think that's acceptable here, we just don't have it right now. But I think encouraging a different kind of mindset than we have would be a first step that wouldn't cost anything probably, but could really mean a lot. I actually was stopped into the Hampton Inn to speak to someone, and there was a woman that had been standing there for an hour waiting for a cab to go home. And I got to talk to her, and I took her home. She lived 1.5 miles away. And, you know, the cab didn't come in an hour. So somehow we got to move it ahead.
Well, and to piggyback on that comment, the Uber comment, I mean, that is, I think, part of what may come out of this Leadership Troop initiative, and you and I have discussed that a little bit as well, that, you know, we're too small a market for Uber. I mean, they just entered Columbus last fall, so I mean, we're way down their list in terms of marketing. But we do think there may be an opportunity to construct our own version of that. I said a website. I know websites are a little bit 20th century, and we've moved beyond websites, but into apps or whatever. But the point is using technology to connect people who, you know, you could certainly conceptualize in one neighborhood where, you know, you might have 2 or 3 people working on the Kia pad, but they might be working for different companies, Kia, PowerTech, Mobis, Globus, etc. And so they may not even realize that they're trying to get to the same place on a daily basis. And through some type of app or website technology, they may be able to construct that. And so I think that's why I say it's going to have to be a hybrid model, because we just can't afford what Atlanta or Columbus, you know, does. And so we've got to be creative. We've got to think outside the box. We've got to not just another one of the aphorisms that I use when I say is that that I want, when someone comes to City Hall or to City Council with a new idea or new suggestion, I want to be our mantra that we start with yes. You know, we don't say no. We don't say no. We say yes. There may be some details to work through. There may be some wrinkles to work out. There may be some bureaucracy, some red tape. There may be some of that. But I want our answer to, if you have a new business or a new proposal, to be yes. Now let's figure out how we can make it work. And so that's the same type thing that I'm suggesting here. Do we have a Facebook question?
We have 3.
Okay.
So they've started to roll in. Takia Lindsay said that this is very informative, but she wanted to know about affordable youth services for teens.
Affordable youth services for teens.
Yep.
There are lots of youth programs in LaGrange. I don't know specifically what the question goes to, but I will tell you that that not a week goes by that I don't encounter somebody with who's working with the youth in the community. I mean, Alton West, who we recognized earlier, certainly knows this well. Down at Cannon Street School, now Oliver Green Multipurpose Center, where we have Boys and Girls Club, and we have Alpha Multipurpose, and we have Greater Achievement. We have a number of youth groups. So there's lots of youth groups out there. I think that kind of akin to Kay Duran's comment about housing is that sometimes there's not a single clearinghouse for all the youth and teen activities in the community. And I know the hospital has tried to do a little bit of that with some resource guides. But maybe that's something that we at the city need to be a little bit more intentional about, is trying to make sure that there's a directory that people can go to of all the various activities and all the various mentoring programs and after-school programs and so forth, because I think those are most of which require transportation, to Sherry's point, absolutely. And so that becomes an ongoing concern. Let me get another question from Facebook, then I'll come up back.
Pepper Ellis Hagba?
Hagba.
Okay, Hagba.
Hello, Pepper.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. While everyone is looking forward to the new businesses coming to our city, I among them, I am wondering if there are any plans to help keep small businesses alive in LaGrange.
That's a great question. And and yes, definitely small business is important. It's the lifeblood of the community. It doesn't get headlines the way some of the big industrial projects do, but certainly at the city, I think we try to do everything we can to minimize the cost of doing business in LaGrange, so that as compared to other cities, we try to accommodate zoning issues, we try to accommodate business licensing issues. Again, starting with yes, we want to try to make life easy. We have been able over the last couple of years to put in place an opportunity zone, and the opportunity zone is a designation that comes from the State Department of Community Affairs, but at the request of the local city council. And we created opportunity zones along most of our historic commercial gateways, Whitesville Road, Hamilton, Greenville Street, Hogansville Road. We've created these opportunity zones and I don't know that they've been as well publicized. I know some, Alton West knows this, some locally have taken advantage of them, but all it requires is that you create 2 new jobs. So in thinking about small businesses, we sometimes think about, we provide these incentives for Century Tire because they're doing 1,000 jobs or so forth. But if you just create 2 new jobs as a small business owner, you can take advantage of this opportunity zone if you are in one of those commercial corridors. And the commercial corridors tend to be those areas that have historically been developed but are now maybe a little bit depressed, a little bit underdeveloped. And so that's one example. So yeah, we're always looking for ways to try to help our small businesses. Alton West as our Director of Community Development, Mike Criddle is our Economic Development Director. They work with small businesses as well as the large businesses, and certainly that's not something we want to lose sight of. And I know that the Chamber of Commerce is also very actively involved in pursuing small business development. So we will continue to make those kind of efforts. Let me come over here and then I'll come back to Facebook.
This is just regarding the youth things. There was mention of a skate park that they were going to do. Is that still
That's still definitely underway. We have retained a developer, a skate park, not a contractor, like a planner, I guess that you would say, a skate park a designer, skate park designer. And they have been working with some of our local young people who actually skate to try and see what type of facility would be most desirable, what location would actually be best, etc. And they are actively working on that design, and I think we'll probably have some recommendation from them in the...
We're really in a site selection.
Until we can find the right site, we've got to design the site, so that's where we are, and we are working on that actively right now.
We've had several proposals. I think there's 2 schools of thought on this. Some people have proposed that we put it way out in the middle of nowhere kind of deal, okay? And those are people who really don't like skaters. I mean, I think that's, but I think the more realistic, if you will, planning is that we need to have it close to downtown, because there's definitely a draw into the downtown area. But it also gets back to Sherry's question about transportation. We want to make it convenient and accessible to as many residents as we can. But skate parks are well used. I've never been a skater myself, I will confess, but I was recently at Fernandina Beach, Amelia Island, for a conference, and right on the beach, taking up an acre of prime real estate, right on the beach in Amelia Island, was a huge skate park. And there were more kids on the skate park than there were on the beach. So I mean, I know it's a very it's a sport that's very desirable, and a lot of people are engaged in it. And so we had to a couple of years ago, a year ago, we had to prohibit skating on the downtown parking deck because it was becoming a safety issue. and it probably never should have been allowed in the first place, but we had to pass an ordinance to prohibit it. And our commitment as a city council to the skateboarding community was, we got to prohibit this for safety reasons, but we're going to try to find an alternative location. And that's what Lee and their group is actively working on. I think we have another Facebook question I can go to.
Yep. Leighton Robinson asked, I was wondering if we had any plans to decrease our carbon footprint by looking for alternative renewable sources of energy.
The city has actually been a leader in reducing the city's carbon footprint itself. We currently capture methane gas from our landfill. We've been doing this for a number of years. Methane gas is the worst of the greenhouse gas offenders, and so we were one of the leaders. We've been recognized statewide for that program, which was started with some cooperation with Milliken and Interface, where we actually can capture our methane and send it to Interface and Milliken for them to use in their process. We also are very much a partner with the Ray Anderson Foundation in the Ray Highway. The Ray Highway, for some of you who don't know, is the 18-mile stretch from exit 18 to the Alabama state line, which was named by the General Assembly in memory of Ray Anderson, the founder of Interface. And the Ray Anderson Foundation, their goal is to make that 18 miles of interstate the most sustainable highway in the country. And so along those lines, we are experimenting with things such as solar cells in the roadway. They're experimenting with different types of plant material along the interstate. They're experimenting with tire pressure monitors. So I think there's a lot of opportunities with new technology, and I think that the city, certainly I think the city will continue to look at all of those and try to embrace any of those technologies as they come along. Quite honestly, the city is not the big carbon contributor in the community. It's more it's the residents, and it's all of us. And so, getting back to a comment that Sherry made, one thing that all of us residents can do is to try to find ways to carpool and try to find ways to walk rather than riding. And certainly the Thread Trail will be a major part of that as well, which is to say that we need to get people out of the car, on bicycle, on foot, because all of those things are going to help reduce the carbon footprint for coming from our community. So, good question. Thank you. Other comments or Scott?
The city has jumped into recycling with our blue recycling bins. Can you comment on how that's going? Any challenges? Can we do it better?
I would love to have more people participating. The city has started curbside recycling. I hope everybody knows that, and hope everybody on Facebook knows. We have free. I mean, it's free. It's a free service to the citizens of LaGrange. We have free curbside recycling. All you have to do is call City Hall and sign up, and you'll get a big blue can delivered, and you can put your regular trash in the gray can, and you can put the aluminum, magazines, cardboard, plastic, no glass, but all the other recyclables you can put in the blue can, and the city will pick that up once a week, the same day we pick up your regular garbage, and we will recycle that. The program, I use the program weekly. I fill up the blue recycling can and have very little regular garbage. It's a great service to our citizens. Unfortunately, the citizens have not signed up in the level we were hoping they would. We have about 10,000 residential sanitation customers for the city. We pick up garbage for about 10,000 homes on a weekly basis. We were hoping to get about 1,500 people sign up for curbside recycling. I think at last count we were around 900, maybe 800, 900. So a little bit more than half, but still much less than what we were hoping for. So what I would encourage on that is I would say it's a great program. I'm delighted we're doing it. I've gotten a lot of great feedback on it, but I would hope you would get the word out. So if you currently have a Big Blue can and you recycle, maybe you could knock on your neighbor's door and say, you know what, you could sign up for this service. It's free. They come and pick it up once a week. You ought to, consider that. So if you can help get the word out, that would be great. Scott, thank you for what you do through Keep Troup Beautiful to address recycling, address litter, address all the other issues that your group works on. But any help we can get on promoting the curbside recycling would be good. The reason it's important is because at 800 participants, the city's losing money on the program. And we went into it knowing that it would not make money. We went into it conceptualizing it. This is a service for the residents of LaGrange. But if we could get it up to about 1,500, then all of a sudden, even though it's never going to be profitable, but it becomes a lot less of a cost item in the city budget. So that would be my sales pitch for curbside recycling, and it's the right thing to do. Let me take a Facebook question, and I'll come back over to you. Okay.
Donna Arndt wants to know, what are your thoughts on dog parks?
What are my thoughts on dog parks?
Or on dog parks?
I am an advocate for a dog park. I think that it's something that we hear a lot of from our residents that they would like to see us have as an amenity. We had plans for a dog park as part of a comprehensive redesign of Granger Park a couple of years ago. We put that plan on hold intentionally because of the Thread project. And we weren't sure exactly where the Thread Trail was going to go. Now we are in the next couple of months, we're going to start building, if you will, the model mile, which is the first mile of this thread, to be able to put it on the ground and be able to show it and demonstrate this is what we're talking about. This is what it looks like. It's not just a drawing on a map somewhere. This is actually what we're describing. And we think that's going to be a great sales pitch for the thread. So we're doing the model mile. And then I think after that is complete, my hope is that we will revisit the larger discussion about Granger Park. And as part of that include a dog park. As just one element, we're going to hopefully redo the playground, the tennis court, look at the ball fields as well as the dog park amenity. The progressive communities around the country all have dog parks, and that's something that, particularly when younger people move to town, maybe a single person or a couple with no children in their early 20s. Oftentimes they have dogs. They want to be able to take the dogs to exercise, etc. Peachtree City has a dog park. Carrollton has a dog park. Auburn has 2 dog parks. Athens has 3 dog parks. So, I think this is something that we definitely need to consider addressing and make it a part of our. It's one element, but it is an element of our comprehensive parks redesign. Yes, ma'am. Let me go back to you in the.
The question about the recycling.
Yes.
Have they ever proposed it to like the LaGrange and housing authority? Because I think that would be a good idea, and it probably get more participants for recycling that you're looking for.
And I don't know the answer to that question, but we'll follow up on that. We'll follow up with the LaGrange housing. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, do we use the curbside recycling program at the LaGrange Housing Authority property, or do they do their own program? Do we know how that? We will inquire. I'm not sure how that's. I'm not sure how it's done now, but yeah, that's a great opportunity to really educate residents and also to get some new participants, both at Benjamin Harvey Hill and at Lucy Morgan. We need to be at both properties.
The reason why I asked that question is because I live in one of the communities and I've never heard of it.
Okay.
all we have is the regular trash bins, and I think the recycling would be a plus, not only for our community, but for the city itself.
Absolutely. Well,
What is it, 18? Was it 800?
800.
Well, it's 1,500 people right there.
It's true.
That is a, thank you very much for that. And we will definitely follow up on that. We'll be on the phone with Mrs. Hurd tomorrow, hopefully, and try to see if we can get the residents, at least get the word out. I mean, not every resident may participate, and we can't require anybody to participate, but at least get the word out that this is available. I think that will be a great initiative. I'm looking towards the city manager because these are some of the kind of things that the staff helps us with so much. They do such a great job. Yes, sir.
My name is Corey Morgan. I'm our SGA president at LaGrange College. We have a food and sustainability committee, and we've also been looking at ways to improve our recycling. Has the recycling option been shared with LaGrange College?
I assume it has been, but we'll follow up on that as well. LaGrange College, and making sure that the students at the college know that this is an available option. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for pointing out you're the SGA president at the college. That's great. I'm a proud LaGrange College graduate, class of 1994. So yeah, I was not SGA president. Yes, sir.
Calumet seems to be very popular through the summertime. How is that funded, and is there any plans for expanding that or doing any more of the city?
Yes, it's been a great success. In fact, a lot of people don't even know about it. A lot of people don't realize that we have a splash pad. The question is about the splash pad at Calumet Park. I love to tell the story of Calumet Park. Some of y'all get tired of me telling the story of Calumet Park, but I'm going to do it anyway. In 2013, there was a shooting at Calumet Park, and it was, I think it was that summer, and it was, several people were shot. No one was killed or anything like that, but it was a wake-up call to the residents in that neighborhood. And I'm so proud of what happened with Calumet Park. The residents of that neighborhood didn't pack up and leave. They didn't get mad and go bolt their doors and hide. Instead, they came together as a group and they said, we want to do something to improve our park. We want to upgrade our park. We want to make it more attractive to the community. We want to get more people out in the park because we know that the best deterrent for crime is good people out in the park. That's the best deterrent to crime that you can get. And so Dr. Robert Tucker, Pastor Michael Rowland, a number of other residents in the neighborhood came together. And they came to the city council one night, and we didn't know exactly what they were going to ask us for, but we have this open microphone policy. And they came in and they said, this is what we're doing, and we've come together, and we're not asking you to do anything, but we're just telling you what we're going to do. We're going to fix up our park. We're going to make things better. And it was such a delight, and it was so refreshing to the members of the council to see members of the community coming together collectively amongst themselves saying, this is where we live, this is our home, we want to make this a better place, we're willing to roll up our shirt sleeves, we're willing to do the hard work to get it done. That the council's response was, no, we want to help you. I know you're not here asking us for anything, but we want to help you. And so what we did was we went into the park and we redid the basketball court. We removed the old abandoned baseball diamond and created some grassy area. We created new walking trails around the park, and we built the splash pad. And that was built out of city SPLOST money, because in the city SPLOST, we designate money for neighborhood park improvements. That's one of the things that we designate money for. And so we used that funding to do the improvements at the park. It's been a great success. It's really energized that neighborhood. They've now taken it to the next level, and that group of neighbors has come together and they formed their own 501c3 nonprofit for their Calumet Village. They've gone to the Callaway Foundation and they've gotten some grant funding. They're doing a major study through the Georgia Conservancy of how to improve their area. I mean, I really think Calumet is going to become a model for what I hope all the other neighborhoods of LaGrange will want to learn from and will want to take them up. And I know from conversation with Dr. Tucker and Pastor Rowland that they are eager to share their story and they're eager to share their advice and their wisdom, things they've done well, things that haven't gone so well, but you know that they can share that. And so yes, definitely we want to replicate that. In LaGrange, particularly on the south side of the city, we have a number of old, if you will, pocket parks, small parks. When the Callaway Mills Company developed a lot of neighborhoods around town back in the 20s, I guess, maybe, they were very progressive in their land planning. And so they created they set aside areas for baseball fields and, you know, other types of amenities. And we need to go in and redevelop some of that. And I'm very happy to report that the new director of the County Parks and Rec Board, Cajun Rhodes, he moved here from Peachtree City. He was the director at Peachtree City, and then Troup County hired him to be their parks director. He's very interested in this same topic of how can we go into these old parks, how can we repurpose them, how can we make them just as attractive as Calumet has become over the last couple of years. And so I hope you'll see more of that coming down in some of the other neighborhoods in town. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is for the community to be the ones driving that conversation. If I, as mayor or the city council or the city manager, if we swoop into a neighborhood and say, we want to redo your park, I mean, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of resistance from that. But if it's the neighbors and the community coming together and saying, we would like to have these amenities, we would like to have these walking trails, we would like to have another splash pad, a skate park, whatever it is, then I think all of a sudden that becomes a model that's very sustainable and very manageable. And I know that the members of the council have historically supported that type of development, and I think they will continue to do so. Any other questions or comments? Schofield, yeah.
I have a comment for Dr. Tucker will be coming over here with us February the 21st at the library. He's going to be meeting with this area and showing us what we can do in our area and helping us come up with the name. So if you don't have nothing to do, if you live in this area, just meet us at the library February the 21st at 6:30.
And for February 21st at the library at 6:30, a meeting with Dr. Tucker to hear about how these neighborhoods can come together. Thank you. That's great information. Yes, Teresa. Did we have a Facebook?
Oh, sorry. Sleeping on the job. Tara Mitchell wanted to know, is there ever going to be a low-income housing in LaGrange for single adults?
I assume that most of the low-income housing that's in place now is available for single adults. I'm not aware of there being a barrier to that. I don't think you have, for example, the housing authority properties, I don't think you have to have children or be married to. There's a limited availability. So I think it goes to the broader question of making sure we have lots of housing options available. But I'm not aware of any particular demographic barrier that is in place. I mean, I know there are some senior housing developments. There are some developments in town that are restricted to seniors over 55, I think is the number. But I'm not aware of any other restrictions. But I think that's, again, back to the earlier discussion. That's one piece of the discussion, is making sure that every demographic is accounted for. You have another? The last one, okay.
Is there this is Jimmy Goodwin. Is there anything planned to revitalize some of the older mill villages, such as the neighborhood close to Old M City?
Yes, some of what I just described is what I hope will happen. We've made a lot of progress in Calumet. There's more work to do in Calumet, and I'm hoping that the neighborhoods will continue to come together around, it doesn't have to be a historic mill village per se. I mean, you can define your own community. You can define your own space. But I think the key is for the residents of a defined area of town to come together and to work collectively, and then to come to the city. And I promise you, as long as I'm mayor, and I think this goes for our city council members as well, you will find a very eager partner at the city to help with that neighborhood revitalization. Well, this has been great. Great questions, great comments, some great suggestions. Thank you all for that. This is, I said, not the last of these. Let me give a plug that we will be next Tuesday, February 7th, at Confidence Missionary Baptist Church on Colquitt Street, 6 o'clock again. And then next Thursday, also at 6 o'clock, we'll be at Dunson United Methodist Church on Barnard Avenue. So we will have completed our sweep around the city, the four corners of the community, if you will, trying to hear from as many residents as we can. Appreciate all of you who were able to join us on Facebook Live as well. And then, like I say, we're easy to find. You know where City Hall is, and certainly we're easy to get to. Accessible. I'm accessible on Facebook, on email, and then our council meetings as well, where we're always glad to have people come out and share their ideas with us and their suggestions for how we can improve LaGrange. Thank you all very much.